We have Peter Linder and Bhushan Joshi here today. And they're going to talk about both 5G and what Ericsson is doing as a leader in sustainability. Take a look.
Welcome to this session by Ericsson here at the Nordic Innovation Summit. We're going to talk about 5G and sustainability today. My name is Peter Linder. I'm heading up 5G marketing for Ericsson. And with me today I have Bhushan.
Hey, this is Bhushan Joshi. I lead Ericsson's Sustainability and Corporate Responsibility Program in North America. Really happy to be here and have this conversation with Peter.
So I'll start by kicking off a question to you, Bhushan. What are the goals and objectives for Ericsson's activities in the sustainability area?
Yeah, I'm super proud of my company. Ericsson is a global sustainability pioneer. We have about 25 years of history of commitment to sustainability and corporate responsibility, really kind of starting with the first environmental report that we published in 1993. We were one of the first companies to adopt the UN Sustainable Development Goals to really measure the impact of our company on society. We set science-based targets in 2017, and just last year, Ericsson has announced to be completely carbon neutral for our company operations by 2030, so in next 10 years. And this is a journey, Peter. You know this. We have been on this journey for some time, and this journey is really informed by science and data for us. And our focus from a programmatic standpoint is on three areas. The first one is responsible business. So we're really focused on being proactive on this agenda, going beyond legal compliance, making sure that we integrate really high occupational health safety standards, focus on responsible sourcing, really become a trusted partner for the customers and the stakeholders we interact with. The next pillar is climate action. So here we're taking into account the impact our company's operations have, but then also being very attentive to the impact of our products on society. And the final one is digital inclusion. Accessibility and connectivity and accessibility to broadband is really important. It's a key enabler of economic development. So we really do a lot of good work on advocacy, on making sure that we're connected those that are unconnected, and bringing STEM education to children early in their life so they're better be able to participate in the technology revolution that's coming up. So, this kind of gives you an example of what Ericsson has been doing and where we are now from a sustainability standpoint. So, Peter, can you tell us a little bit about what is 5G and how is 5G going to change the way we live and live our life and the way we work?
Yeah, so 5G is the next generation mobile networks. We introduce a new generation roughly every 10 years. And it's easy to view 5G just as a faster horse. So something a little bit quicker than what we already have. I would argue that 5G is transformational. It's as important for digital mobility as the car was for physical mobility 100 years ago. And to give me a few examples why I believe it is that. If you look at the 5G is going to transform both consumer and business. So the first technology that address both at the same time. The consumer piece, we're going to transform in the way that we're going to get higher quality of video to our mobile devices. Think 4K, 3D, 360 for totally different experiences with video. The second thing is we'll be able to stream games to these devices. Streaming of game to these devices with the computing power at the edge instead of having everything crammed into a $3,000 computer. And the third element, which I think is going to be transformational, which is virtual mixed and augmented reality, where those devices, where we can untether them, we can cut off the wires to the desktop that they are attached to today and run them when we are out and about. Not only will 5G change for consumers, it will also change for businesses in a material way. The reason why businesses are interested in 5G is they want a reliable, secure, high-performance wireless network so they can reuse dependencies either on wired alternatives or wireless that doesn't necessarily take them all the way up to the mark. That will be used to connecting all kinds of things around us where we want to measure things in business processes. And it would also be used to actually, like, for example, in production of a car, you don't have to have all the electronics in the robot itself. You can move that to an edge somewhere at the manufacturing plant and then have simpler robots and having the robots talking to the compute resources. So these are a few examples of things that 5G will bring and transform both consumer and business. So, Bhushan, what about connectivity for climate action and sustainable development? What role will connectivity play there?
Yeah, so great question, Peter. So we need to make this transformation on all sectors of our economy, including the power sector. So if you think about the power sector or the energy sector, what's really been happening in the last couple of years and a decade is it's this change both on the supply side and the change on the demand side of the equation. So on the supply side, what we're seeing is that there's a lot more renewable energy sources that are coming online. And then on the demand side, you see a lot of different ways in which energy is being used that's changed. So now we have a lot of people with electric cars that are plugging them in at night. So it's just the patterns have shifted, right? So now when you have to have a grid that is becoming increasingly more and more dynamic, you have more sources of energy, people have solar panels on their roofs. How do you connect with all of these different dynamic sources of energy and dynamic sources of energy use and being able to balance them in a proactive way so that you're able to maintain that balance between supply and demand? So that's really what we need to do, and connectivity is the exact solution to do that. So if you think about 5G and the connectivity solutions that we provide or Ericsson provides, it gives the grid operators the ability to rapidly and securely connect with multiple sources, act rapidly to balance the sources and balance the power usage too. So it really allows them to maintain that very thin balance that they need to maintain to meet the needs of today from a power usage perspective, but then also achieve the objectives of transforming the energy sector towards a more renewable future that's needed to take climate action. So Peter, can you tell us a little bit about where are we with the rollout of 5G in North America? Has the recent COVID pandemic impacted the rollout?
So the rollout of 5G in North America is happening in three different ways. First one, we're building for coverage, nationwide coverage. We're using low-band spectrum, which is the same spectrum that we use for 1G, 2G, and also been used for certain TV channels, now being reformed or created so that we have that spectrum for coverage. That would be essential as we're targeting to reach 95% of U.S. farmlands by 2025. The second piece is about capacity in urban areas. Here we're using mid-band spectrum that are used for 3G and 4G, sometimes even combined 4G and 5G together with dynamic spectrum sharing. And this is great spectrum for capacity in urban areas. Here we also will see additions of spectrum with the likes of CBRS, Citizens Broadband Radio Services, and new spectrum in the C-band later this year. The third area that's going on is for creativity. Creativity in zones, either where there's a lot of people in one physical location, or where you can uncover new business, unaddressed, unserved business needs. So that is done with millimeter wave, reach shorter. That's where we have the highest capabilities. When we look at this as a whole, the industry is pushing forward right now to building 5G at full speed. Of course, it's a little bit more complicated by COVID, but I wouldn't say that it's been slowing down significantly in any way. So I would say that almost according to plan. But as we build this, one of the key challenges that we're having here that's often talked about is like the carbon footprint of this 5G network. All previous network generations have increased the power consumption in the network. What can we do to 5G to change that, or what do you see it will look like?
Yeah, so it's exactly right. Every time we have seen this in the past with new generation of technology being launched, we've provided more coverage, more services to more people. So if we deploy 5G in the same way that we've deployed the networks before, then yes, the energy cost and the carbon emissions that come with it will go up. So what we really need to do, and it's a challenge that's facing our industry, is how do we quadruple the data traffic without increasing energy usage and carbon emissions? So our sector is kind of doing this in two ways. So number one, using renewable energy to power data centers and to power networks. Power is one of the main sources of emissions for the digital industry. So, you've seen customers of ours like T-Mobile and other companies in the tech sector like Amazon and Microsoft. They've made huge commitments to move towards renewables, towards 100% renewable energy for their businesses. So that's kind of addressing that challenge. But the other challenge is, around mobile network efficiency. So how do we, again, quadruple data traffic without increasing energy consumption? And we call that concept breaking the energy curve. So, what Ericsson has done is we have developed a framework called breaking the energy curve. And this has kind of 5 key elements. So the first one is preparing the network. So, we have a lot of hardware out there that is 2G, 3G, or 4G. So really moving that and modernizing it towards a more energy efficient 5G hardware is kind of the key to kind of set the stage. Then once you have that, start activating energy saving software features that allow the network to go to sleep when it's not needed. And then build 5G with precision. So, dimension it right. So, don't over dimension, use the right equipment in the right place. And then finally doing things like operating the site more efficiently and more intelligently by using technologies like AI and machine learning to really optimize how all of the site elements are connected and all of those site elements are being monitored and tweaked to proactively drive the energy efficiency and energy performance higher. But that's just kind of about how, about breaking the energy curve. Ericsson is also taking this, more proactive approach on this. So we have established what are called as product-specific sustainability goals. So Ericsson has set a target to have a 5G portfolio that's 10 times more efficient per data transfer than the current 4G portfolio by 2022, so in 2 years. And also in that same horizon, we have set a commitment to develop or ensure that our new Ericsson radio system is 35% more energy efficient than the legacy portfolio that we had, again, by 2022. So, kind of taking a look at what Ericsson has made commitments around 5G and efficiency, and then really adopting this framework of breaking the energy curve, we're confident that, we can deploy 5G in a more sustainable way and meet the demands of the data traffic, but then also keep the carbon emissions in check. So Peter, that was kind of a little bit more about, 5G and energy. Can you tell us a little bit about, what is Ericsson doing to advance 5G network deployments in North America?
I guess we've been pushing forward on a number of different fronts. The first one was standardization. We pushed forward the standard by 12 to 18 months. So instead of coming out in 2020, came out in 2018. That's been the key to deploy 5G networks early. Second thing we're doing is we're developing the ecosystem here in North America with an initiative we call D15. And if you think about the ecosystem, it used to be very simple. It was smartphones, it was networks, and it was data centers with our apps. Going forward, as we're involving more and more industries in 5G, this ecosystem is growing, and it requires a lot of collaboration and co-creation of use cases early on. That is what we do in the D15 labs. The third thing that we've been doing, we brought design and opened new design centers here in the U.S. We think it's important to design in the U.S. close to where our key customers are, especially in some of these areas of ASIC and software design for our radios and artificial intelligence, where we have a lot of talent here in the U.S. The fourth area is how we produce our equipment. We have established a new factory here in the Dallas area where we can design or produce the 5G radios. So by producing the radios locally and also using 4G and 5G in the factory to create a smart factory, we wanted to create a showcase for how we best can produce, not only produce 5G radios, but innovating the way we produce them as a showcase for other industries to watch. And the fifth element is very much tied to, we have one of the shortcomings here in the US is that we're going to build 1 million small cells or poles. And that's to be compared with the 300,000 macro cells that we have roughly in the country. In order to do that, we need a lot more trained people that can go out and deploy this in new ways. So we've taken a very active role in developing talent and hiring that talent so we can be the ones building these networks down the road. So those are 5 things that we've done. So that's a few examples on the 5G side. Could you give us some examples on the sustainability side, how we're leveraging connectivity there?
Yeah, so I'll talk about connectivity in the transportation sector. So transportation accounts for approximately 21% of the global carbon emissions. So it's really key for us to integrate sustainability and take climate action in this sector to achieve the objectives of the Paris Climate Accord. So, the challenge here is, how do you provide affordable, safe transportation and reduce carbon emissions that go with it? And, one of the ways that we have done this is that we have partnered with a company called Enride, which is an electric transportation company, and Telia to create a all-electric autonomous transportation system that is more safer and it's more sustainable. So what that means is that, by switching to an EV-powered solution that is powered by renewable energy, we can reduce carbon emissions in networks, in logistics networks, by up to 90%. And also, the autonomous vehicles are driverless, obviously, and they're commercial and they're driverless. So that means that there is less downtime, there's more reliability, and so the total cost of ownership becomes low. And then because these EVs don't have any tailpipe emissions, the air quality inside cities improves by a lot. And the role that 5G has in this is that connectivity is a key requirement for the autonomous vehicles to be able to operate on streets. And the connectivity needs to be high speed, it needs to be low latency, and it needs to have increased reliability, which is what 5G provided. So, that is why 5G has been the key enabler in this sustainable transport solution, by providing the connectivity and the reliability that is required to put these safe, EV autonomous vehicles onto public roads and allow, the transportation sector really get the entire benefit from an economic standpoint, but then also from an environmental standpoint. So, this is just one of the many examples of how 5G is being used across the globe to have more sustainable solutions and take climate action.
That sounds very good, Bhushan. I think with these words, we would like to thank you from Ericsson. Thank you for listening in to this section on 5G and sustainability.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.